Welcome to Real Estate of Mind, a Farbman Group podcast. Welcome to the show. This morning I have the honor of sitting with Greg Salter, our acquisition lead at Farbman Group. Now, Greg is a University of Notre Dame graduate. He's been with us about 3 years now, and in the last year or so received the designation of Chartered Financial Analyst, which we're going to get into in a few minutes. Good morning, Greg. Welcome.
Good morning, Andy.
So, Greg, tell me, what was the first deal you underwrote in your position with Farbman?
The first deal I worked on was actually also the first deal I worked on that we acquired, which was 1007 Church Street in Evanston, Illinois. It's a 155,000 square foot Class A office building. For those of you who don't know, Evanston is the nearest north suburb of Chicago, about 20 minutes north from downtown, home of Northwestern University. And this is a Class A office building right in the heart of downtown Evanston, which is really, I would say, an extension of the city of Chicago.
Very nice. So you were 1 for 1, your first deal out of the gate?
Yes, it set a precedent that is not, you can't match that precedent going forward.
Were you thinking basically every deal you underwrite you're just going to close on and buy at that point?
Luckily working with Andy Farbman, I was able to get the sense that would not be the case. But it was, I think, a great way for me starting off to learn, to really go through the full due diligence process. That was also a very complicated transaction. So I think it set a good kind of base level for me to work off of for further transactions.
And that was a distressed asset at the time.
It was. And
we've been able to see that from your underwriting to the fruition of the deal. So we are now at the point where the deal has met or exceeded our expectations, what you basically and Andy underwrote for it. And we're seeing the end phases of it. So it's got to make you proud.
It has, and the good thing for us is we actually work out of that property pretty consistently. We're there at least a few days a week. So being able to be involved and see the leasing and the work we've done in the lobby and the corridors firsthand, and see and the building was under 50% occupied when we took over. So to actually be there at the property every day and see that transformation has been very rewarding, and I think also helps me when I'm looking at other assets to really know, when I'm underwriting a plan that we're aiming to execute, the work that's involved in actually making that vision come to life.
That's a very good point, and that brings me to a follow-up question, which is, what type of lessons did you learn from your first deal?
One important lesson I learned, and in my role, I'm really the quarterback of a team of people who are working on the acquisition process. One thing I try to do is I want to feel like when we get to the closing table that I know the property better than any other person in the world, and to make sure there are no surprises once we close, or at least really understand what risks we're taking and what may come up once we do have ownership. And so I think that's something I've taken from, especially because that deal was so complicated, going forward, really to making sure that I know every little piece of information. Another thing that was interesting about that deal, really starting off, I think I was mostly focused on the in-place tenancy and what the vacancy was and how we were going to be able to lease that and how that would affect our cash flow going forward. And one thing that Andy found, which now is something that's helped me to look for more opportunity, though, is that we're also at that site, we're also the owners of a potential development site, which is essentially non-existent in downtown Evanston. So to be able to see that upside, that's something now where I'm looking for different ways to add value at other properties, whether it's a development site or maybe it's something with the parking, or we can get a different type of tenant in the building that hasn't been in the building in the past. Just really always looking for something unique that hasn't been done before that might add value to our investment.
And that's a very good point. You talk about the complexity of the transaction, and the reality of it is that unlike many investors, we're not buying strictly based on a cap rate. We're looking for that upside potential. We like deals with a little hair on them, and we kind of feel like we're best in class at dealing with those types of obstacles and issues. And you've obviously been a great part of the team in helping to grow those types of assets and be Andy's quarterback on those deals. So Greg, you've been with us now about 3 years, and you have probably one of the most interesting and exciting jobs, getting to work directly with Andy Farbman on a daily basis, which not everyone gets to do. So I've got a two-part question here for you. What is the most interesting thing that you have that you found working for the company, for Farbman Group, and for Andy in particular, and working as closely with him as you get to do?
Sure. So, my role, always trying to be out finding new opportunities. One thing I've really come to appreciate because of the strength of our company is that really nothing is off limits. I think when you look at the resources we have internally with our team in Southfield and in Chicago and in Columbus and in Milwaukee, as well as the partnerships we've formed externally with a number of really strong investors. No matter how complicated a transaction is or what the size of it is, I feel confident that if it's interesting and if there's a lot of potential there, it's something we're going to be able to do, which I think is exceptionally rare in this business, to really feel confident that no matter what type of deal you're looking at, you have the opportunity to get to the closing table. I think also just our size and scale and reputation in the market, for me, allows me access to a lot of people and opportunities that really help me to develop in my role and hopefully find interesting acquisition opportunities for the company. Working again, I'm very fortunate to work with Andy closely here in the Chicago office, and he's done a lot in his career. He's still young, but he's accomplished so much. But at the same time, he's extremely hungry and motivated and looking to do more and more and more. I think based on his experience, it's pretty rare that we come across something during an acquisition process and during due diligence that he hasn't seen some version of that in the past, where he's kind of able to relate from his experience and work through an obstacle. I think also, though, he's just so smart and knows the real estate business so well that even if there is something brand new that he's never seen before, he's quick to find the solution and find something that will kind of work effectively for us and create value for us. I think another great piece of it is my focus is 95% on acquisitions, but obviously Andy is involved in all aspects of the company. And so working so closely with him, that allows me to get some insight into the asset management and property management and brokerage and construction businesses that I wouldn't otherwise have. And I think, going back to when we were talking about 1007 Church a little bit, when I'm thinking about how are we going to execute our vision for an investment, how are we going to make our underwriting work, being able to see those other pieces of the company really helps me in my role to be able to feel confident in what underwriting I'm putting together. And I think on top of that, Andy's just a good person and family oriented and fair with with the employees of the company and our partners. And I think kind of just it's good to come into work and be partners with someone who kind of has the best interest of the whole company at heart.
That's well said. I think you did a great job of covering that. And something to add on to that, you touched on this, but having the full service capabilities that we do, being able to talk to someone about every aspect of real estate who's knowledgeable and can help with that underwriting, having a John Line in property management who's probably one of the most brilliant property management people I've ever worked with, or Ron Morozic who started just out of school with us, and that was, Ron will kill me for this, 38 years ago now.
Wow.
And has never missed a construction estimate in the 20 years I've worked with him. Having those tools in your arsenal when you're underwriting or trying to perform on the underwriting, incredible.
Yeah,
so.
Don't sell yourself short either.
And we'll move on. So Greg, you look at a great volume of deals every year. How many do you think that you actually underwrite each year?
Starting from the top, probably see 10, 15, 20 potential deals come across my desk every day.
Wow.
From there, a lot of them simply don't fit the profile of what we're looking for. So I won't spend much time looking at those, but I start to dig down into potential investments that look like they fit our profile or maybe have a unique aspect to them that could make it an interesting investment for us. From there, I continue to work down once I start looking more into them and see what really might fit into our wheelhouse and get into the more typical underwriting and financial modeling. And depending on the time of year, that could probably be 1, 2, 3 properties a day. We're really getting more into the weeds. So over the course of the year, I don't know the exact number. It's definitely in the hundreds, but we see a lot of deal flow. So it's it's a tall task to find the most interesting opportunities through what comes across.
Yeah, that sounds like when you said you could see 20 come across your desk on a given day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that puts you in the 5,000
Right.
a year range of just deals where you see the surface level minimally
Yes.
of them. It's got to give you a great knowledge of the market that we're working in for every deal, so that you can go, oh yeah, I saw X deal a week ago, and this is how it compares to that.
Absolutely, yeah. I think a little bit what we discussed already, which is that we can really, I think, with Farbman Group, because of our resources, do or really get involved in any type of investment. So being able to see kind of what's traded in the market, what hasn't traded, and why something might sell at a certain price point helps us to better underwrite and know what the value is, one of our existing portfolio, but also anything that we might acquire to add to the portfolio.
So you're looking at, on the surface level, several thousand deals a year.
Mm-hmm.
How many do you think we make offers on? What percentage?
Definitely less than 1% of that. I would say probably of the deals we really get into the weeds of, probably under 5%. I think the one thing about Farbman Group is we've already built such a great portfolio, and we're able to be selective in the properties that we want to focus on. So while we see so many a year, we're probably executing fewer than 10 per year, definitely fewer than 10 per year, at least while I've been here. But that allows us to really be selective and to focus on assets that are interesting to us and that you wake up in the morning happy to own and have a lot of upside. So it's great to see them all come through, but we also just want to make sure that we're focusing on the kind of the right assets for our portfolio.
And you hit that right on the head there, because realistically, we are not focused on a minimum cap rate deal. We're not trying to buy something that tells an investor you're going to clip your coupon and get your 5% per year or your 6%. We really are looking for great upside potential. You can't guarantee success on a deal. The world is a strange place, but by being so selective and looking as deeply as you are on that gives us quite a bit of an advantage when it comes to the probability of returns for our clients. And that's a fantastic thing.
I think I always look at the profile of the risk versus the return, and anything we're looking at, there's going to be certainly an element of risk, and it's important to understand exactly what that risk is. But what you want to do is find the deals where there's a disproportionate upside relative to that level of risk, and you understand what your downside is. And a lot of the time, like you said, there are a lot of investments where maybe you're clipping a coupon and you have some nice cash flow, but you're never going to see a huge upside to that. On the other hand, you maybe lose an anchor tenant and then you're in trouble. So I think
God forbid.
Yeah. So I think what we're looking at is really understanding what our risk is and finding a disproportionate upside relative to the level of risk that we're taking.
Very well said. It is true. We are looking for that disproportionate upside. Thank you. So, Greg, one of the things that when we were looking to hire you, one of the things you were pursuing was obtaining this Chartered Financial Analyst designation. Mm-hmm. And that was really intriguing to us because it's rare in the commercial real estate industry to have someone with such a prestigious designation. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why you ended up pursuing that?
Sure. So the designation is intended for professionals in the financial industry that are focused on investment analysis or portfolio management. And when I was a finance major in college, and I've had a lifelong interest in investing and really a number of asset classes, and that kind of path eventually led me to real estate as my favorite of those asset classes. But the designation really provides, and the coursework and learning that goes into achieving the designation provides a great, I think, groundwork and frame of reference for all types of investing or managing portfolios. And so, to me, it was kind of a natural extension of continuing my education. For people who don't know much about the program, it consists of 3 levels, which you take a day-long examination once per year at each level, and you have to pass. You have the 1 day to pass to move on to the next year. So it's quite a pressure-filled experience. But I think it was really a way for me to continue my education after college. And I think also part of it for me was I met a lot of people with the designation who talked about how it helped them in their careers. And I think also just provides kind of a signal to your background and what you've accomplished that other people take seriously when they see it in your title. So it was a lot of work. Each test, what they tell you is you should study at least 300 hours for each level of the examination, which obviously, while also working a full-time job, is a huge challenge. So I have a lot of respect for anyone who's achieved the designation, and I feel very fortunate to have it myself.
Well, congratulations on that. That's we're glad you have it as well.
Thank you. You can't do it without the support of your company. So I appreciate it. I was moving on to level 3 when I joined Farbman Group. I had passed the first 2, so it was great to have the support of the company while I was working towards that final step.
Oh, it's a wonderful thing. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to end with a hardball question here.
Okay,
Very important
ready.
one. So, you and Andy, pretty regular ping pong players. Andy Farbman considers himself, and we all believe he's in the elite class, but he believes that he is the #1 ping pong player of all real estate professionals in Illinois, if not Illinois and Michigan both. So you play regularly.
Yeah.
Where are you guys on win-loss ratio?
For a little bit of quick background, when I was growing up, my brother and I would play a lot of ping pong in our basement. And after he's older than me, so there's a long gap between when he moved out of state and when I started working with Andy and playing ping pong with Andy. So probably the first 20 or so games we played, he just crushed me. I was still getting my game back. But then once I got up to speed, we've been back and forth. So I'd say we both have our streaks of who's winning more consistently. Unfortunately, most recently, Andy has had the upper hand. But we have a lot of fun, and I think I would like to think if he considers himself the best player in Illinois or Michigan, that I have only helped to make him a better player.
It's very gracious of you. So you two are number 1 and 2 in Illinois and Michigan. Doubles team, would you take on all comers from other commercial real estate?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We don't play enough doubles. But we're a pretty good team when we do.
Okay, so that
challenge is out there.
The challenge is there. All comers.
Yeah.
Greg and Andy are ready to take you on. Join us next time for another wonderful edition of Real Estate of Mind, a Farbman Group podcast.